Okay, ready? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February meeting of the Town of Milton Planning Board. Mr. Marsicano, would you lead us in a pledge to the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I just got a couple of announcements. First, to the board members that who did attend the Saratoga County Planning Conference on Wednesday, February 5th. What a great conference it was, a lot of good training. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to get your attendance forms to Amanda so she can get them and get you the appropriate continuing education credits credited to you. If you weren't able to attend, I just remind you that you still have the obligation to get your 4 hours of continuing education credits over the course of this year. And there's plenty of opportunities online, and there are some in-person trainings available in the area. So if you need any help finding anything, let Amanda know, and we'll see if we can help get you set up. Tomorrow evening on February 13th is a comprehensive plan visioning session scheduled at the Milton Community Center on North Line Road. This is going to be the beginning of our next phase in the comprehensive planning process, where the public will have input into the long-term vision for the town. From there, the comprehensive plan committee will develop the vision and some objectives and goals for the new comprehensive plan going forward. This is our second big public session. There'll be a couple more as we go into the process, but this is kind of a big one where you get an update of what kind of inventory, what analysis did we do, what issues did we address, and then starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the planning process.
May I ask what time is it?
That starts at 6:30 p.m.
6:30.
6:30 p.m. Sorry about that. The next meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Committee is scheduled for March 4th here at the Town Hall. Again, that's where the board will start getting into that visioning details on itself there. The final meeting of the Town Center Linkage Study was held on Tuesday, January 28th. There were several recommendations presented to the public in a series of public viewing stations. Each station had draft concepts and recommendations to improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle connectivity at and around the Geyser Road and Rollins Street intersections all the way down to North Line Road. And the public was asked to rank their choices on any number of those recommendations. In the near future, you should be able to see a final plan as it's presented to the town board and posted on the website as that gets done. That will become folded into the work of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. That'll eventually, I think, end up in some project proposals that will be seeking funding opportunities and improvements throughout the town center here. Okay, our first order of business this evening is the approval of the minutes from our January meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Town of Milton Planning Board dated January 8th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
A second.
I'll second.
Ray, are there any discussion or changes to the minutes? There being none, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Bartow.
Yes. Okay, at this point, we'll open the meeting for public comment. Please note that we will have a continuation of the public hearing this evening for a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road. So if you have comments on that project, please wait until we commence the hearing so your comments can be on the record. We continue to have both in-person and virtual comment opportunities. So I'd ask if you're Zooming with us and want to make a comment, please use the hand wave feature. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. And if you have written comments, please summarize them. And if you'd like to leave a copy with us, we'll share them with the full board. I will open the public comment period at 7:04 p.m. Anybody choose to address the board at this time? Anybody online?
No hands.
Last call. Anybody want to address the board? Okay, I will close the public comment period at 7:05 p.m. Okay, last month we adjourned the public hearing on a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road because the county and the applicant were still working on items relative to the airport one-way protection area and some changes at the intersection of Stone Church and Rowland Street. Geyser Road, sorry. Mr. Danable, do you have any updates for us at this time?
Yeah, so for the record, Joe Daniel with Environmental Design, here representing the Cisar Brothers Payment Company. They're advocating for a subdivision.
Is the microphone on, Joan?
For the record, Joe Daniel with the Environmental Design Partnership. Few updates on the plan, briefly go through the slides. We know the location, east and west sides of Stone Church Road. This subdivision is entirely on the east side of the road, adjacent to the airport. Proposal is for a new public road, loops out on to Stone Church Road with 33 lots scattered along the public road. The 34th lot being the remaining lands on the west side of the road will be retained by the Cisar Brothers Holding Company. As we have been working with the county in the RPZ zone, dealing with the Part 77 surface, the RPZ zone, and the runway surface approach zone, we have worked with the county and we're going to grant them easements over the two-dimensional RPZ zone, the three-dimensional approach surface, and the three-dimensional Part 77 surfaces as they extend off the runway. Essentially what that does is the RPZ zone is this area in the green where the town stormwater management area is. That is a two-dimensional surface with a meets and bounds description. Within that area, the county is requiring us to remove the majority of the vegetation. Any tree greater than 3 inches in diameter will need to be removed from that area, and any tree over a certain height will also need to be removed from that area. It is our intent to leave the understory in whatever condition it is in that area and develop that area as a stormwater management area. The vegetation itself will fill in rather quickly, creating a buffer between the residents on Ackland Drive and the community here. We're giving those easements to the county at no cost. We've worked through the language with them. They are good with the easement language. We're continuing to work with the figures that identify the limits of the 3 zones that we've been identifying, so that ultimately we can dedicate them to the county. We're in a little bit of a cart before the horse situation where the county at first said they couldn't give a referral until they couldn't give an approval of the plan
239 approval.
until the county accepted the dedication. However, the county DPW and county attorney said, we're not going to give any approval on this until the local municipality has granted some form of approval on it. So we're kind of in this circular pattern, and we've come to the conclusion where this board needs to act on a conditional approval before the county will act on finalizing their approval of the easements, therefore allowing the county to finalize their recommendations. That's moving along very well. We've been working with the county. Stephanie Ferradino is the applicant attorney who has been working with the county as well to get this stuff finalized. And I think we're just down to now the easement figure, being able to finalize it before the county board of supervisors can vote on that and accept that dedication. We will touch on this slightly. We are providing a easement, or not an easement, a screening and buffer along Stone Church Road, where we're going to leave as much vegetation as possible and then supplement that in with a 30-foot wide buffer. This is the exact language and buffers that were provided on Greenfield Avenue associated with the Hunter Lane subdivision that is currently going in. Another area we need to continue to work with the town on, I thought we had it figured out in the last subdivision, but it appears to be changing is the mail kiosk. How we're going to treat the mail kiosk. So the mail kiosk itself has been pulled out of the right of way and is located on a private lot with an easement that will be owned and maintained by a homeowners association. That will be the only need for a homeowners association in that project. All of the improvements within the right of way, I think, are somewhat up in the air with the town DPW. Maintenance, operation certainly would not be their responsibility. It'd be the responsibility of the owner or the HOA. We would be fine eliminating the pull-off. I don't know that there's a need for it, but we do need to extend a sidewalk out to the road. We're open to whatever the town's going to approve. I just don't know what the DPW and the powers to be are going to come up with to make that happen. We will build this. We will build a sidewalk out to the road from the mail kiosk, keeping it on private property. That's, I think, one of the items that we're gonna have to condition any approval on is a development of the mail kiosk to the satisfaction of the town. All these lines represent all the different surfaces we've been working on. The red is the limit of the RPZ zone. The purpose is the approach surface zone, which is a three-dimensional surface which elevates it above the house. Similar with the blue, is also a vertical surface that's a trapezoidal surface elevated above the house. In no instance does a house that meet the height requirements of the town extend in any of the vertical surfaces or go into the horizontal surface, which is the RPZ zone. Talked about this. The other item we were working on with the county was the proposed four-way stop to be located at Geyser Road and Stone Church Road. We today received approval, let's say consent from the Chad Cook at DPW, identifying that the plan that I'm showing here is what they will accept when it goes to construction. To give everyone an idea of what they'll be looking at the intersection, we'll have a four-way stop. You'll have a stop sign on both sides of the intersection. So you have 8 stop signs at this intersection. Reflective tape, diamond grade steel. For a period of time, I believe it is 6 months. There will be approach signs that identify stop ahead, and those will be having orange flags off the top of them, as well as all of the stop signs will be having flags on top of them. In addition to that, we're gonna have a variable message sign on either side. I think that's gonna go in page right. I believe it is 2 to 4 weeks before the installation of the stop sign and 2 to 4 weeks after the installation of the four-way stop signs. And then they will be removed. But this is ultimately what has been approved by the county for construction there.
May I ask a question? I saw a document a month or two ago that said that we didn't need one at the four-way stop. Am I just wrong, or did they change their mind?
There was a traffic engineer for our project identified we needed one. County DPW, through an independent study that was not solicited by the applicant, I believe it may have been solicited by the town.
No, the county did it a couple of years prior to this application. I can't remember if the town asked for it or not. It might have been with some other projects that were occurring in the area, and they did the study. And at that time, they said it didn't warrant a four-way stop, but it was based on existing conditions. It didn't have this project. It didn't have what has occurred down at Milltown Center or.
One of the, my traffic engineer identified one of the significant problems with the county's assessment is they didn't account for all the crash data at this intersection.
That's true.
The crash data at this intersection and its existing condition for some period of time warrants a four-way stop at this location. So
And we've heard that from our EMS personnel that the crash situation there is
right angle,
among one of the worst in the town.
right angle, severe crashes.
Yes.
So what we're proposing should make this a safer intersection at the town. So that is the updates that we
Okay.
have. We are hopeful that we can conclude the public hearing and obtain a conditional preliminary approval at the end of the night to be able to move this project forward with the county. Thank you.
Ms. Maruso, do you want to highlight your report?
Sure. So just to reiterate, to the points that, Joe had just spoken with, and I guess to validate exactly what he had said, the bigger outstanding issues or items with this project review pertain largely to county issues, and the mail kiosk issue. And as you've just gotten a very comprehensive review on that, they are all being addressed or have been addressed. As Joe had indicated, we've been privy to the discussions that the applicant's been having with the county with regard to working through the abrogation easements and those associated mapping. We've also been part of correspondence and also received confirmation from Chad Cook this morning as to the consent to the latest updated plan for the offsite traffic mitigation. And again, we were, as Joe had said, kind of caught in this process and trying to figure out the best sequence based on the agencies that needed to render approval. And so he's here tonight with a complete application that's received comment, received a positive comment letter from the county, is fulfilling those conditions that were attached with the county referral. We've also now received an update with regard to the formation of an HOA, which addresses, at least temporarily or in the interim until there's a larger policy in place, the mail kiosk maintenance issue that we've been dealing with. And again, it's something as a planning challenge that we see and are encountering, obviously far beyond this particular project and would like to work on, but that's neither here nor there. The applicant has provided a solution. We would suggest that based on the permitting that would be required for the project for curb cuts along Stone Church Road, that it might be appropriate to include the mail kiosk and approach design as part of that permit and approval process. Just so that the highway has that chance to be able to approve what they're ultimately permitting, maintaining, or not maintaining based on those parameters. Everything else here, I think it's just critical for us to know. Obviously, we've been aware of new regulations that have come through DEC with wetlands and jurisdictional determinations. It should be clearly stated that seeker was completed for this project last month. And so the
Actually, in December.
December, excuse me.
Yep.
I was thinking it was January. That is a whole month. My apologies.
That's okay.
So seeker was completed in December, so the applicant has fulfilled and we've gone through that process as well. Again, tonight, I think we're just at the point where we may be entertaining a conditional approval. There are more comments in my review letter, but again, the nature of them was really primarily focused on the items that we have discussed.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we did adjourn the public hearing last month. We will reopen the public hearing at 7:18 PM. Is there anyone that would like to address the board with respect to this project at this time? Yes, if you would please come up and introduce yourself and your address.
I'm Rick Argiulo. I'm over on Ackland Boulevard. I just wanted to know, I have 3 questions. So did anyone, did we follow up on bird strike concerns? That's a concern still with the water.
Yeah.
Want me to continue?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
continue.
Okay, now that the trees, the RPZ trees, a little worried about flooding in that vicinity and behind on the neighboring properties with tree removal. That was already a wetland prior, so it does, it's with no trees, it's gonna be different. And the last thing I have is 33, 34 lots based on 83 acres. So, after wrapping my head around that a little bit, I'm looking at 34 lot. How do you get the number of 34 lots? Is that based on the 83 acres? Because it's not really 83 acres. It's whatever's on the right-hand side, which is 26.2 acres. So is that
Sure, we can address every one of those.
okay?
So yes.
And then, as far as the previous questions, I mean, the county, the board, if, bearing responsibility of any kind of flooding or bird strike issues, as long as that's known too.
Sure. So
That's it.
just happy to, if you want to stay, we'll address those quickly. The bird strike concerns, everything with respect to that stormwater retention pond indicates that that will drain rather rapidly. The perk tests that have been done there, everything we know about the conditions are there. It will not retain water, so the county and anything that they've concerned to us, their consultant at the airport has not expressed any concerns with birds congregating in that area and posing a threat to flights overhead. The tree removal and flooding, we're not aware of any wetlands that are on that site there at all. And like I said, the tests that have been done to date with respect to the stormwater are that will drain well within the DEC requirements of 24 hours, if I'm not mistaken, 72 hours. So water retention and anything is going to be extremely minimal there. And we're not aware of any wetlands being in that area to date. There are plenty to the western side of the road and the other portions of this property, but none on the eastern side that we're aware of. And then on the 34 lots on the 83 acres, what that is based on is the 26 point some odd acres that are on the western side with half-acre lots allowed in the layout configuration minus the streets and everything that are there.
Oh, so it's based on the 26, not the 84.
Yes, yes. And you can see on Joe's plat and Sophia's calculations, there's more than enough acreage to get to the 33 residential lots. There's the 34th lot, which is the western side parcel. That's going to be a remaining, if I'm not mistaken.
But that wasn't used to get the.
No, that wasn't used to get to the density. That's a remaining 56 acre lot that's just going to be left alone. So it was based on the 26.246 acres. So it had a half acre each, that was right off the raw number. That's more than 33, but by the time you take the roads, the stormwater, everything out of it, you get down to 33 lots.
As far as the wetland, you mentioned there wasn't any, when I bought the property years ago, I actually came to the town to ask about the property behind it, and the gentleman here said that, there was never gonna be anything back there, it was wetland. That's where that came up.
Not, there's no wetlands there
Yeah, somebody did a
that
recent
we're know
study,
of.
They don't see it, but it's not.
Plenty on the
Other side.
western side, but nothing on this parcel.
We have jurisdiction determination.
Yeah.
DEC in our report that there are no.
Not on that side.
none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Test pits down 7, 8 feet, never touched groundwater. Maybe some seasonal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe some seasonal conditions in the spring, that perfect water grows the ground, but
Yeah.
that's good sand.
Is there any clay in there, or is it sand?
It's pretty much sand.
Didn't hear you speak without a microphone.
If
Yeah.
I may add to, just as a matter of, we also wanted to check Joe's work, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. We also asked the county engineer, we'd had a discussion about that with the concern over standing water conditions, and the same thing that
They weren't concerned.
they weren't concerned because of the nature of the natural soil type that's in the area. They thought that it was very conducive to really fast draining infrastructure, which is, I think, why they chose the technology they had. I think that also helps to mitigate the standing water issue, the bench issue, the fence, but we wanted to hear it from the county, and the county said, yeah, we're feeling good about that. Just as another piece from the bird attractants have been banned in the backyards of the new proposed lots. So that was another measure that the county was looking toward to mitigate or to prevent a lot of accumulation of a bird population or creating a flying hazard area as well.
In the backyards of the new neighborhood?
With the
Yes, yeah,
easements
exactly.
that are on those properties.
Right. So there are some very unique asks that the county has with regard to how the new residents can use those backyards and what kind of features they can have within it as well. But I do want you to know that we asked about that.
That's great. Yeah, I feel, thank you for the county to do some diligence. Guys.
Yeah, and they've been great to work with this, which is good, but I hope that helps.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Anybody else choose to address the board at this time? Anybody online?
No hands.
Last call for comment? All right, there being no further comment, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing for a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road at 7:24 PM.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second,
I'll second.
Any discussion? There being none, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Dula,
Yes.
Miss Van Danza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Marin,
Yes.
and Chairman Barto.
Yes. Does the board have any questions or comments for Mr. Danable or our engineer or consultant at this time? Sure.
What specifically was the problem with the kiosk that our highway department
So
like about it?
the perennial kiosk question for going on 5 or 6 years now is the highway department wants to minimize any encroachment on the right of way at any expense and not be responsible for both the pull off and the entrance and the kiosk itself. They want absolutely no responsibility for maintenance of the kiosks or whatnot. So for this is the 4th subdivision that we've done at this point. The first one, which we will be discussing a little bit later, is where it got raised with us at Fair Oaks and Homestead Acres, of which came late in the process and was a big cluster. But since then, this will be the 3rd one where we've had to address using kiosks and getting them there. And what we've done in each instance is create a homeowners association and left up the maintenance of the pull-off area, the sidewalk, and the kiosk itself to that homeowners association to take care of it, maintain
I
it.
should put on like, that's what I thought. But so I guess with that knowledge, is highway department fine? I guess that's
We're going to confirm it.
okay. Because that wasn't clear to me.
They, for now, this is about the best solution we have been able to come up with in the absence of any further detail. I don't know, Sophia, if you want to add
Yeah,
anything
just
to that.
because the nature of the maintenance responsibilities, we have been continuously engaging Jason and asking, what they thought would be the best practice with what we have now as mechanisms to maintain these things. And just to kind of zoom out a little bit, the town or most townships aren't usually responsible for people's mailboxes and kind of,
Yep.
right? So we're dealing with this new, honestly, enforcement burden. This is a little bit of a challenge for this particular design standard. So I think until that there are more concrete mechanisms in place from the municipal level, I think there's a lot of hesitation from DPW just with regard to the additional resources it might require. Like if there's special snow removal, if they're gonna have to, how they have to divide out their crews for that kind of stuff. So this latest iteration is reflecting what Mr. Miller and the highway department has discussed and has indicated they're comfortable with. But like we were just discussing, it may also be very pertinent to have them review and permit that as part of their curb cut permit process. So that they kind of have that final view on it. But we wanted to make sure I believe we have a comment letter on file from Mr. Miller as well. This is reflecting.
So the town does need to amend Section 152 of the Streets and Public Highway Dedication process to deal with this, which it hasn't done yet at this point. So we continue to do it on a project by project basis. Our current code calls for individual mailboxes to be at every house. And the U.S. Postal Service has said we will not do that. We will not deliver to those circumstances. So
Thank you.
okay. All right. Any other questions from the board at this point? Okay. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the 35 lot subdivision at Stone Church Road consisting of 33 single-family residences, a stormwater lot to be conveyed to the town of Milton, and 1 lot of approximately 57 acres to the west side of Stone Church Road to be left undeveloped at this time. Further, that the resolution will be subject to the following conditions. The first, that the easements benefiting Saratoga County Airport shall be approved by the Saratoga County Department of Public Works and County Attorney prior to dedication of the final plat, and the clearing associated with these easements shall be depicted on the final plat. 2, that the details of the off-site improvements at the intersection of Stone Church Road and Geyser Road shall be approved prior to the depiction on the final plat. I note that Joe did get final approval for those from the county today, so he just needs to put those on the plat as their final approved. 3, that a homeowners association will be established with the responsibility for maintaining the United States Postal Service mail kiosk on a portion of the property outside of the highway right-of-way, and that the pull-off and sidewalk within the right-of-way shall be subject to the approval of the town highway department as depicted on the final plat. 4, all outstanding professional review fees shall be paid to the town with certified funds or a payment method acceptable to the town. And additional funds shall be paid to the town in an amount deemed sufficient by the town to pay any future professional review fees necessary for final plat approval. And 5, an engineering report shall be submitted with the approval of the town designated engineer identifying all categories of improvements, the estimated length of time to be required to construct them, and the estimated amount of all performance bonds or other guarantees required to ensure their completion in accordance with section 154.14 of the Milton Town Code. And that would accompany an application for final plat approval. So those are the 5 conditions.
I can make the
Any
motion.
questions? Well, first, any questions on those conditions or other conditions?
The only one I have on the bonding and estimates for bonding, we've done that prior to stamping of the final plans, signatures by the town.
No, we need to have them as part of, prior to the final plat. But what we're asking for you is to submit an engineering report that begins to outline those and get that process with our TDE. So we have them prior to final plat approval.
Okay.
The posting of those don't have to be done until prior to signature.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Typically, they're posted at prior to construction permitting, but
Well, whatever that is, we just need to have it as part of our approval.
no problem.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on those? Okay, if not, I will entertain that motion for preliminary plat approval.
I make the motion.
This is preliminary plat approval. Bernadette, you moved it?
I did. Yeah.
Second,
I'll second it.
any discussion or questions? There being none, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula, yes, Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll get this resolution finalized with you tomorrow.
Perfect.
Good.
Is there a time frame for final from preliminary?
62 days unless mutual consent to extend.
See how we-
Well, technically, unless we decide to hold a hearing, which we'll decide as soon as you submit us an application.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Next, we have the continued review of a site plan for a bar at 410 Geyser Road. If you recall, we last saw this project in December and had the applicant revisit their application with the town planning consultant. And the applicant is here this evening. Would you like to present to us where you're at and where you stand on going forward? Yep, okay. Scott, you're going to do that? No problem.
Hey,
Go ahead, Scott.
Good evening, Scott Lansing with Lansing Engineering, representing Jenna Clark for the 410 Geyser Road minor site plan. The applicant is very eager to set up business in the town of Milton. What we are here for this evening is to give a board an update on where we were since where we've come since the last meeting, answer any questions the board might have. And then we would like to put ourselves in the permit position so that hopefully at the next planning board meeting, the board could possibly consider approval for the project. Just for a quick background, we're located at 410 Geyser Road, north side, approximately 1.8 acres. On the parcel, there is an existing home, which is in the front portion of the parcel, which is in the red shade on the structure. As far as surrounding uses, I really like this particular image because it does give a sense of where everything is that the applicant is proposing compared to surrounding uses. To the west, we have the Country Club Plaza, which is a multi-tenant plaza with a parking area in the front. On the south side, across the street on Geyser Road, there are multiple residents that were converted to various businesses. One in particular, pretty much right across the street, is the Dozer's Bar and Grill. On the to the east of the project, we do have the Geyser Vacuum in the Stewart Shop, and towards the north, we have the Upstate Bus Garage, which is this larger facility in the back. And then off on the northwest side, we have the Deer Run Townhome project. Parcel is zoned TC Town Center District. As far as what the applicant is proposing the conversion of the single family home into a bar. So a bar would be the principal use on the parcel. The existing structure is approximately 768 square feet of interior space. And we are proposing a patio on the back of approximately 638 square feet. So overall square footage of about 1,400 square feet. As far as amenities on the site, there are amenities that are exclusive to the patrons of the bar. We do have 2 volleyball courts, approximately 30 feet by 60 feet each, an outdoor game area in this vicinity that is approximately 30 feet by 40 feet. A pergola for some gathering off on the western side of that is approximately 15 by 36 feet. And then picnic tables in between some of the uses. There's also an outdoor detached restroom facility in the back portion. As far as access, we are proposing a single access point. A single access point from Geyser Road, hinging off of the existing curb cut. As far as parking spaces, the code does require 1 space per 50 square feet of service area. So for the 1,400 square feet, that would be 28 parking spaces. We are also proposing 28 parking spaces, so we do meet the town's requirements. As far as hours, the applicant is proposing daily from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. But the outdoor activities will be limited to 9:30 p.m. As far as sidewalks, there is an existing sidewalk along the full frontage of Geyser Road that would be maintained. We also have sidewalks within the facility, so from the handicap parking area, full accessibility to the restrooms and the outdoor patio area. Lighting, we are proposing some lighting for the volleyball courts in the outdoor amenity area. And then as far as utilities, right now the site is served by individual well. The applicant is proposing to abandon that well and connect to the public water. We are proposing an on-site wastewater treatment system. The soils on the site are excellent, very sandy soils, very conducive for wastewater treatment system. And last but not least, stormwater would be managed on site. We are below an acre, does not require a stormwater pollution prevention plan. But again, we have very porous soils and stormwater will be managed on site. As far as waste disposal, the applicant does not estimate a significant amount of waste from this type of use. So it would be typical residential type rolling cans to suit that need. That's essentially it for the proposal itself. As far as the overall plan, I do want to mention that we are in full compliance with the TC Town Center district requirements. We're not asking for any variances or waivers or anything of that nature. We did receive comments. First off, I want to thank Sophia for she took the time to meet with us a couple different times to help us through this application and make sure we're meeting all of the various requirements. And I think we've, with Sophia's help, we've narrowed it down to a few things. I think a few things. The rest of them, I think, are technical in nature. More than happy to address those. And I wasn't going to focus on everything in Sophia's letter, just the items that I wanted to discuss. The first one is relative to the realignment of the curb cut. There was a suggestion expand the curb cut towards the east, expand that over so it comes in a little bit straighter on that back parking area. As far as maneuverability into the site, as far as passenger vehicles, more than adequate for passenger vehicles to get into the back of the parcel. There was that suggestion based on fire apparatus access. You know, our thought is that with the structure so close to Geyser Road, we don't see a fire truck coming into the back portion of the site. If an ambulance or something had to come into the back portion of the site, that maneuver can be made. But if there was any sort of an unfortunate fire, we feel they would set up on Geyser Road, and the fire hydrant is actually right here on Geyser Road. So it seems like that would be the logical place to set that up. Reason we're trying to keep the configuration as is. First off, obviously cost. On Geyser Road, there is an existing curb with a 6-inch reveal along the full length of Geyser Road. It does have a drop curb for the driveway. If there was any sort of expansion of this curb cut, would require the full depth removal of that curb, the replacement of it, so there would be a flush curb for that particular area. It would be a relatively significant expense and something the applicant would like to avoid if possible. The other reason why, and this kind of relates to another comment relative to screening. There was a request to provide plantings along the frontage, and the applicant's willing to do that. The thought was, if we leave the configuration where it is, it does afford us the opportunity to kind of wrap those plantings around a little more, as opposed to having a straight shot in where you can't plant on the pavement. Obviously, people would be able to view in. This gives a little more opportunity to put plantings around that particular side and help screen that parking area. So that is that particular comment. There was also a comment about the hours and of the proposed hours versus other establishments in the town. There was reference to the Milton Tavern being open from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then Dozers, which I mentioned is just right across the street, is 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. So similar hours to what is being proposed. So we feel it's appropriate for the area, especially considering, in our opinion, Geyser Road is mostly converted to commercial. We think it's a commercial corridor. This fits in with the fabric of the corridor as far as existing residents, the establishment in relation to all the other businesses in the area is quite close to Geyser Road. So we feel there's more than adequate buffers to any surrounding residential structures. There was a comment about the lights. Our schedule says 7, the plan says 6. We apologize for that. That was a typo on our part. There are 6 lights that are proposed. And as far as the height, and little tiny small print on the plan, it does say 10 feet. We'll make sure that's clarified on future submissions where it's we specify the 10 feet. Last but not least, we do have the county referral that needs to be completed. I understand that the board wants to take a look at this before they refer it to the county, so we would like to see if that can be referred to the county, so we could hopefully be on for I think it's the April 9th meeting for possible board consideration of approval. That's essentially it. Again, we're here for questions and comments from the board, and whatever we can do to answer any of those questions and hopefully advance to approval at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Sophia, do you have anything you want to add based on Scott's response to your comments?
Thank you, Scott. You have to touch on a number of the comments I'd indicated, so I can just provide a little insight into the context of those. If that helps for the rest of the discussion here. So if you're referring to my staff review, if you look at page 2, traffic access and circulation, which is part of the site plan review criteria. When we were looking at the site access, one of the concerns that was indicated to us from a building code perspective and a circulation perspective was just the approach angle with the curb cut, the way it is servicing what is now an existing residence. And so that's why the suggestion had come through to see if we could align the curb cut slightly to hopefully improve fire apparatus circulation and turning into the site. That was the primary concern indicated to us within the building department. I would obviously defer to the board to continue that conversation and assess the comfortability of that. I would also suggest that when we get to the point where we are referring this county, we would also have our town engineer provide a review of that and probably a site element if that was appropriate. So that's where the origination of that comment had come from. Again, it was simply from primarily a fire apparatus management perspective and providing additional access to the building on multiple sites. Pedestrian access and circulation. Obviously, the site is right centered within town center on Geyser Road, already is serviced by a sidewalk and street trees. Off-street parking, again, we just want to verify the parking count that the applicant has provided. Town center guidelines gives you leeway in determining the adequacy of parking provided. Again, something that can be discussed and perhaps determined based on, additional information that you receive. Let's see here, building layout massing. So just to indicate, and this is something that the board needs to make determinations on, but With where the applicant has the site now, there's no proposed alterations to the footprint of the building. Currently, the residence is located 20.6 feet from the front property line. We know that our town center guidelines looks at a 10 to 5 or 10 to 15 foot build to and maximum build to zone for that area. But we wanted to provide that as a framework and reference. Obviously, we know that we've been seeing and reviewing a number of residential conversion projects, so it's just big for the board to be apprised of. We would ask for just information with regard to the type of drainage that would be provided, assuming that the parking is paved. I'm assuming it's paved. So just that in the future submission, we would include that detail as part of it. We did just cite a concern, and again, this would probably, maybe I'm stepping out of my lane, but just in noticing the location of the D lines for the septic. There's a bit of an area overlap between the outdoor game area, the volleyball court, and those laterals. The distribution lines. So it is just something that we would want to verify or assess whether or not the potential relocation would be required, or if it's going to work, just to make sure that it's going to work based on the type of surface activity that's occurring there. Landscaping buffers, again, something that is considered, especially when we think about design compatibility within the neighborhood. Just to indicate, and I think that is very helpful to have that reference, knowing where the relative limits of disturbance that they have with their project is in reference to the adjacent plaza and the former Stewart site as well. Because we know that there's an existing medium density residential development to the north. We would recommend preserving vegetation to the greatest degree possible, and we would simply suggest that the planning board discuss whether or not the addition of fencing or additional tree plantings would be included in this area, if only to mitigate impacts to neighbors. Again, just a suggestion. And again, that would actually, the landscaping and buffers criteria, I think I kind of tied it together with the impacts to adjacent properties as well. Hours of operation, we understand the applicant would cease outdoor activities at 9:30 p.m. The bar would be open till midnight. In order to adequately assess impacts to adjacent properties and to manage those potential impacts, we suggested looking at the hours of operation. If it's not necessarily pertaining to the bar, or the bar is deemed to be appropriate, maybe just assessing the appropriateness of 9:30 p.m. as outdoor activities being the end time, but something you can discuss further. We talked about the lighting detail. I think that's the majority of my comments at this time, but we just want to bring some pieces to this here.
And just on seeker, I just want to confirm, we have not declared ourselves lead agency yet. We do still have to do the county referral. So we can't really, we got to get the county referral back before we could close a public hearing if we decide to do a hearing. Okay. Just so the board's aware of that. All right, board comments or questions you have at this time?
Just a reminder, you were planning on having food trucks at your site?
Can you go up to the microphone?
It's been considered.
Can you come up to the mic and
Can you
just,
go up there so the Zoom folks can hear?
Hello. It's been considered. We didn't assign a specific location for them because in order to get the our liquor license, we also have to serve like set food. So that's been pulled back a little bit. I think if we were to sort of coordinate it, I guess the plan is not right now. We kind of pulled back on that idea. And I wouldn't say no to it, but right now, no.
Is that something we might have to consider, that possibility? Like,
I mean-
are there some considerations we need to think about?
we could, or she could come back at a future date and say, I'm going to propose additional space for food trucks if they were going to do that.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
right now she's got the minimum amount of parking necessary to support the square footage of space she has. So it'd be difficult to accommodate food trucks right
Yeah,
now.
and that's where I kind of have been looking at like the coordination of that. It's not something I've been feeling like I want to get into. But I thought it would be a nice feature, although I pulled back on that. And I think that could be something in the future. If I did want to do that, we might add it in or come back, and request, but we're not going to go forward with it right now.
How does that impact your liquor license then?
I'm just applying for beer and wine,
Okay.
and to apply for the specific tavern license, I need to be like, I wasn't gonna serve food myself. Now I'm gonna like not prep food, but serve prepared food I have to serve that at the location. So that's something new I've just added in, and it will be now part of the experience.
Thank you. I could just comment quickly on the parking. As far as the number of parking spaces, we are showing the one space per 50 square feet of service area. We did conservatively take pretty much the entire area, the first floor of the structure as a service area. In all reality, there's probably going to be portions of that are for storage or for some food prep or things of that nature. So we do think we have some extra spaces on the parcel, but again, we want to make sure we met the requirements for the full structure.
But food trucks will be tough.
Food trucks, yeah, I mean, a food truck will probably take up 2 or 3 spaces, a single food truck. So if that was the case, and instead of the 768 square feet on the first floor for service area, if that was reduced down to 500, we'd easily pick up the required spaces for that. But again, it could be something that if the applicant does decide to pursue that, we come back in and see how the board feels about that.
Other questions? Please.
Type of restrooms do you put in there? Just like an outhouse or?
No, they'd be fully plumbed.
Full plumb, okay.
Yes, yeah, restrooms ADA accessible, and they would be connected to public water and the wastewater treatment.
I have a question. What are you going to do at winter time, and when are those outdoor activities going to stop?
That's a great question. So my plan is pretty much to have volleyball running from as early as May, if that's possible, to September. And then ideally, I'd like to adapt the space and potentially have like sort of winter themed ideas. We haven't really, but not using so May through September for the volleyball courts, but back up in here, essentially use that for nice like winter outdoor activities. But nothing like sporty or crazy. Yeah.
Real quick on your parking, I had a similar question there. Is it paved or is it, because I couldn't find exactly what material you specified.
Yeah, the existing driveway area is paved, and as it comes in towards the back, we would have the handicap spaces at a minimum paved. We have to
Right.
work with the applicant on budget and what she can do, but it would be something obviously be able to support a vehicle. Perhaps crushed stone might be a good option for us because that is a hard surface, but yet still porous, and something that from a runoff standpoint might work well and be within the budget. So
Yeah, that might be something we have to look at because naturally the building is going to require you to make the handicap spots and stuff some sort of hard surface,
Correct.
right? So you'll have to do that. Also, I didn't see anything in here about any sprinkling for the lawn or any of that in the front. Do we plan anything like that? Because grass doesn't really grow that well
yeah, sandy soil.
here
Yeah.
on the sandy soil.
I don't believe we've gotten that far with the applicant yet, but she will be connected to public water as a part of the proposal. So if she does decide to put a sprinkler system in, should have more than adequate water to do just that.
Mhm. How are you handling the garbage and stuff like that? Just you said roller
Yeah.
trash receptacles or something, right? That's going to go in the back there and then get.
Correct, or the garage. There's the garage, which has a nice.
Oh, the garage is going to be usable.
It is, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, perhaps they are stored in the garage and rolled out, but a typical rolling type cans, the larger residential style cans, I would imagine there'll be multiple of them.
I didn't know what you were going to do with the garage because you could have transformed it into space. I didn't know what you were going
Well,
to
I
do.
was just thinking that might be an appropriate spot to store those, at least temporarily, or they could go around the back or the side, whatever works for the applicant, but it would be handled with rolling things.
Okay. That's it.
Handicap access, is it intended to be from the back side of the building? I don't recall what the front looks like. Is it flush to the ground that like a wheelchair could
We were proposing the back of the structure because that is where primarily activities would be. I didn't envision a front access to the facility, so handicap spaces in the back, going from handicap spaces to the patio, entrance to the structure, all at grade, accessible, and also to the exterior of the bathrooms as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions at this time? In terms of the winter, I guess, seasonal activities, you had mentioned some things outside. I'm curious more on what you think that might be. Is it an ice bar you think you might have? Is it something? I mean, it's pretty open out there, so
Yeah.
whatever you do is going to be outside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the budget for this, but people have been like, oh, do ice skating, but that's not, like, we're
Okay.
not gonna get that going back there.
Yeah.
I think, I don't, to be honest, I haven't thought as far as winter
Okay,
yet, but
okay.
how, like, for example, I went to a winter carnival up in Montreal. They embraced winter, and I feel like that's part of what I want to bring, and they rolled up like maple syrup, and I don't know, just bringing unique experiences for winter is part of like what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would only ask, I mean, our building code enforcement officer had indicated that a connection to, I guess it's Heritage Springs Sewer. Is it Stewart's? Not too far, but I don't know what the cost of the on-site leaching system, which is pretty big here, as opposed to, I don't know what the distance is to a connection would be,
It's a
but
few hundred feet, isn't it?
I just don't know what size pipe you need, how difficult that challenge would be and cost-wise, whether she's better off. Because that would avoid a lot of things like eventually grease traps and separations that you're going to have. I don't know what DOH is going to require now that this is a quote bar.
We did look into that as far as a connection.
Okay.
It was a connection that had to be made towards the west.
Yep.
And it was approximately 440 feet away.
It's 440
Yeah,
feet.
significant. I believe
Okay.
there are some lines towards the east, but there was something with intermunicipal agreements and the ability to connect to those. So it was something that just wasn't feasible to go to the east. The west, again, close to
Okay.
440 feet. Cost for that far exceeded the cost for the on-site wastewater treatment system. Quite honestly, it's not that big of a system. The soils are great.
Okay.
The soils percolate very quickly, so we were able to limit the size of the system and keep it within the applicant's budget.
Yep.
Yeah, just to clarify, so to the west would be Heritage, 500-ish feet away. To the east is City of Saratoga Springs lines.
Sure.
But I think folks are aware, right? Right now, we're working with the city to try to come up with an agreement between the city and the town, because that doesn't exist. There's been service by the city in the town for decades without sort of all of the governance structures underneath it that would make life better for everyone. So we're working on that, but we'd hate to see this project get stuck in.
No. I just wanted
process.
to see it. Just seemed
I
like
think on
a
the,
lot.
there would be no grease trap required if there's no food preparation.
No, but I'm just thinking we're approving a bar.
Right.
5 years from now, if it's a different bar, it'll be a different whole situation.
Right. So the one thing we should say is like under sink grease traps are not permissible. So it would need to be an exterior
Yep.
buried concrete grease trap. So you're gonna have to think about that as you're laying out your system to make sure that you have space for that. And then I think Sophia alluded to this. At some point, we get to the details, we'll need to see most of the volleyball courts, even though we have really, really good drainage here. The way they're constructed to prevent water from ponding on them when it rains is that there's some drain fill underneath them.
Sure.
So we just need to make sure that there's no conflict and that there's good separation distance between the volleyball court and any laterals or leach fields. So that's kind of more of an engineering or technical detail. The good news is this site, it's kind of an oddly shaped site, but there is some room in the back. I think the intent is to leave as many of those mature trees there as possible. So just as we get to the details, we may be looking at, where those leach lines would go, how you would reserve a space, that from where you're collecting your water on the site, from your drains and things, to make sure that there's a space where you could install a grease trap in the future. You know, it's not required now, but just make sure that you have the proper pitch and space for that, and then making sure that our laterals don't have a conflict with any of the other
Yep.
sites. So those are sort of the technical considerations.
Okay. So I guess at this point, we have some additional details. I'm not sure whether you feel you can get to those within the month or not. I don't know that we can get the county referral. When's the next county referral submission deadline?
The next county meeting will be February 20th, which obviously we weren't able to make that one, so then it's March 20th. So the way I kind of mapped it out, I think the soonest we can get back, I think, is your
April meeting. April meeting.
So as far as addressing any of these details, we feel we have more than adequate time for the April 9th meeting. Assuming we get something positive back from the county, which I anticipate we will. Again, we're hoping for the board's consideration in April for if possible.
Great. So two things, we've got to do a seeker lead agency determination. I don't think there's any coordinated review per se here. The only thing is a 239 referral that I'm aware of.
Running away from the line for Saratoga.
Oh, they're more than 500 feet away from Saratoga, aren't they here? Yeah.
I would have to verify.
I don't know the exact distance, but it's close to that.
Well, all right. So either way, there might be a referral, but that's still not, that going to require us a coordinated review.
I understand.
They don't have any jurisdiction, but we might have to refer it to them. So I would entertain a motion that the Town of Milton Planning Board wants to declare itself as lead agency for the purpose of the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Mr. Chairman, I have to move.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Bartow.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We have a short form environmental assessment from us at this point. All right, let me pull up a part 2. I'll find it right here.
I want to do it though.
We could do it. We could do this at the, all right, we could do our determination of significance at our March meeting.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, there's been some discussion of whether or not we want to do a public hearing just because of the number of neighbors here and the type of use. And we have discretion to do one on a site plan. So we may want to, but knowing that we wouldn't be able to do that until April, we could do things, and then we got to get the county referral. When's the next county meeting going to be? You can't make February 20th, so it would be March.
March 20th.
But we could get them our determination of significance before they met. It would just be past their deadline. But we would have more information from you at that point. I don't know that would affect it. Does anybody have a problem with proceeding in that way, that we do the determination of significance in March? And then anticipate scheduling a public hearing for April? Which we wouldn't have to do until our March meeting. I don't know that we'd have to have you present, Scott, for sure, for that, to do that.
For the March meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
We could do that. It's on our administrative end, just to get that lined up. Sophia, does that make sense to you? All right. But I think we'll try to proceed in that fashion.
That keeps it moving along too.
Could we ask for the board's input on the curb cut? Because that's an item that would require some some modifications of the drawing if the board felt that was necessary.
Well, I mean, I think you raise a good point with the conflict between if we move the curve cut, we move the ability to really screen the parking. And I don't know how adamant was emergency services with wanting to get fire trucks into the back.
That's something that you'd like to solicit a comment on at the next meeting. You know, that might be appropriate for the record and for a decision.
Okay.
Process. I had spoken with Mr. Willis and obviously it's familiar in one personal life. That's a concern that was brought.
Okay.
We can solicit them.
I mean, it is I agree with you. It's a cost and it's a loss of screening potential.
The only other thing is,
I-
it's bigger now, it's going to slow people down.
Yes,
If you make it straight in.
they're going to fly in and out.
Right, so,
Yeah.
because it's just a straight shot, so it's almost defective traffic calming.
Yeah.
But Scott, what's the distance between the curb and the front of the garage? So like,
Curb in the front. of
That's
the garage.
probably 24, 25 feet.
Oh, from the curb to the front of the garage,
Yeah.
based on the scale, I would say we're probably 50 feet maybe.
Not
yeah,
even-
so it's, people are gonna have to slow down,
Yeah.
especially since it's gonna be two-way traffic. So it kind of keeping it curved like that. Automatic traffic calming. Making it straight, you can have people kind of. Especially if the intent, if making it straight would simply leave the west boundary where it is and you're making it wider. Driver behavior, people are just gonna come.
Yeah.
Swinging in and winging out. This kind of.
Well, let's raise that with Mr. Lewis some more. I don't disagree with that.
I think you're also going to have to look at the corner of your building, leaving it like this, because somebody's going to clip the corner of the building, whether it's a truck or you may have to put a bollard or two in there or something.
All right, so you've got some stuff in terms of site work to do. You got Sophia's comments. We'll plan to deal with the seeker part 2 and 3 on March and anticipation to schedule a public hearing for April. And if you have anything in the meantime, let us know if Jenna wants to come to the meeting in March just to see what we do. But either way, you don't have to be here. We can continue to act on this there.
Appreciate that.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Okay. All right. Our next activity is the town board has referred to us the Reimagine Milton site plan and planning documents. You've all had a chance to look at that over the last month. Does anybody have any comments? My only recommendation at this point is that the town complete its obligations under the town center guidelines and complete its pedestrian sidewalk, street trees and lights as it goes forward there. Mary Beth, I don't know if you want to add
And we
anything.
apologize, those were on the plans and they somehow got just moved, the layer got shut off.
Okay,
So they're supposed to be there. They're
Okay.
supposed Not,
okay.
so that was the intent.
So, and the only other thing I raised is DC did respond to this and said, oh yeah, you're going to have to do something. And by the way, you may not be able to cut any trees between April
Yeah,
and
we
November.
actually had a follow-up call with them about those comments and I think we're okay.
Okay. But either way, so outside of that, anybody have any other comments on the Reimagine Milton site plan that's been referred to us?
I've got a few comments.
Sure, please.
Don't mind me.
Nope.
If these comments go too deep, just let me know.
That is
but-
fine. No, they never go
I don't know,
too deep.
So, the connection from Roland Street to Geyser Street through the park, I think that's going to set up a condition where folks are going to try to avoid the traffic light and they're going to cut through there, either to avoid the light or to catch their bus. And they're probably going to be 5 minutes late and want to go racing through there where all of our children are going to be playing. So I think that needs to be fixed. I think that should be cut off and make them two separate entrances.
So we had it that way originally. I think the we had it separated actually a couple different ways originally. This is the plan that the highway department has said that they would prefer. What I think we're intending to do is put signs up that say no through traffic.
That's not going to help.
So,
Not at all. I work in a shop on the corner of Route 50 and North Line, and all day long traffic cuts through there, and there are signs up that say no through traffic.
Well, we know we have good barriers up there now.
We can put barriers up. That's okay too. But if it were my vote, I would say no for that one reason right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Dog park next to basketball courts. I don't know how dogs can handle noises like that. I don't see any pickleball courts. I think that's more popular than tennis these days.
Yeah, so the thing to know is that the uses that are shown are suggestions at this point.
Okay.
So we acknowledge that, there's been discussion about take out all the tennis courts, make them all pickleball courts. There's been some other things that have been talked about like that. This is a phased plan.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason that it's a phased plan. So we acknowledge that we probably need to create some more pickleball spaces. There's been discussion about surfaces, putting lighting, putting in so that we can extend the time of play. So there's some other discussions going on as well.
Okay.
I would say there are the two pickleball courts.
There's two.
The other end of the
Suzanne
park.
The other
Yeah.
end, yeah.
Yeah.
They're staying.
Yep. I don't know if there's any bathrooms, drinking fountains on the plan.
Yes, the pavilion has bathrooms and they're handicap accessible. And there's hose bibs on all of the buildings. And there's exterior drinking fountains as well. There's a concession stand associated
Yeah.
with the maintenance building. So there's more detail that there's a report. I think the report's online that describes all of this.
Yeah, it was like 80 pages or 50 pages long. So it's tough to go through that.
Of course it is.
So where's the pavilion down here?
That's the big round.
So there's the pavilion is actually adjacent to it's between the town hall and more or less the town hall area and the playground is the pavilion area.
Town hall area.
It's rectangular.
Oh, this, I guess
Looks like a little tears.
it's not labeled then?
I don't know unfortunately, I don't know what you're looking at.
Well, I've looked at the playground and draw a line to the town center. I see this.
There's a big rectangular building.
Yeah. Community rec center, is that what? That's not it?
No, it would
No,
be,
that's way over on
Yeah.
Roland.
It's not, well, if it's here, I don't see the label on it,
This
but
is like-
it's the big round.
If you look
No,
at
the
There's a
round one is
gazebo.
a gazebo.
Oh,
Yeah.
You mean this?
So, yes, so this whole thing is a pavilion with tables underneath it in the center. There's handicap accessible bathrooms, there's drinking fountains.
Okay.
Sorry, there's again, in the 80-page report, there's it details all.
I think
of
it's only 50. I might have gotten a little bit
Mm.
overzealous there.
It's attached to that.
where this turn line.
Right next to this is the pavilion.
You getting that?
Oh, this thing here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what was in an email that John sent us,
And-
SharePoint.
We got a lot of comments from the public to have the playground be fenced so that parents can be sitting under the pavilion and, enjoying themselves and watching the kids so that was set up that was a big comment from particularly moms.
okay.
There's some public service things like a compost pile, sand, salt bin and brush disposal that exist there now. Are
They're
those
all-
they're gonna be relocated or
They're going up to the highway garage though.
they're gonna be
So-
relocated then?
Yes.
Is
Those,
that noted in here somewhere in the?
it's not noted in
80-page
Reimagine
report.
Milton, but if you look at the new, when we referred to the highway garage, the public sand and salt bin is there.
Okay.
The
long as
mulch
it's tracked
pile
somewhere,
stuff is
yeah.
there. Those were all accommodated up at the new highway garage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Steel structure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so there's bunkers set up at the new highway garage for much easier access for the public to those.
This one's not lost in the shuffle.
No, everything that's here is being relocated up there. So this will be a completely open site. The only thing that's really going to stay is we have park maintenance down here now. We're going to continue to have park maintenance, it's just going to be a new building.
Just a thought for going on his concern about through traffic. I don't know if there's like temporary like humps, like they're rubberized. I think they're made of rubber.
I'd like to refer them as table.
Table,
There's speed
Bumpers.
tables.
but they can be taken out for winter for
The
plowing.
Speed tables you wouldn't even have to take out.
You don't
Speed
have
Oh,
to take
oh yeah,
You could
yeah,
leave
you're
them.
right. They're wide, right?
longer.
That might be a
Yeah, we talked
Solution.
about some traffic calming. We talked about possibly turning that into a boulevard, which again will make it a lot slower. We originally had parking on it, which will make it a lot slower. So we've been round with the highway folks on what they, because they're gonna operate and maintain this site.
Yeah.
So that's really been our, we've been trying to balance, it's a park, with who's gonna operate and maintain this park and what are the resources and, those kinds of things. So this is about I want to say the 8th or 9th or 10th version of this park.
This might be a good place to test speed tables with them though.
We've talked about speed.
They warmed up a little bit in Milltown Center for a while.
So we've talked about speed tables in a number of different locations. There's a couple of other places where there've been stop signs put in on roads where they're really don't deserve a stop sign. The intent has been really what a speed table would do, which is slow everybody down. So
What was the highway department's basis for preferring this way?
I gotta be honest, I don't remember.
So
Wait,
I think we've presented a basis for blocking it off, which I think is very
Yeah,
valid
we
because
didn't-
I see it all the
Yeah, we
time.
didn't have it this way in the beginning, but this was
Yeah.
the direction. We had one way, we had a different access point on Geyser. This is probably a year of getting to this point.
Yeah.
So,
I think we should well, I don't know about pursue, but just
Well, I think-
understand
I think it's
their
a
basis. So
comment.
maybe it's valid that, I'll understand better why it's this way.
I think when I've talked to them about this in this location and in others, is they're always concerned about wanting to get through in a forward direction all the way, not having to if you got to come to a stop, they want a hammerhead, which is going to take up a lot of space. So they got to be able to turn around. I mean, those trucks are big. You can put a 6-wheel plow going in there, which won't necessarily have to be it, but even a smaller dump plow that they use is coming to a dead end, a dead stop creates, what do I do down there? So they're like, oh, can you either have a cul-de-sac, which we always see them shy away from those, or then they want a
Big
hammerhead.
ellipse thing.
So to change. So they probably said, well, we just prefer to be able to come in one way, just like you're saying, everybody else prefers, and drive right through and come out the other way. So
especially since the very first phase is building that road. All the parking, all the other things you see on there will not be on there for 2 more years. So there'd be no place for them to put snow. There would be no place for them to turn around. So part of it is this project is phased. So the first phase is simply putting in that L-shaped road.
but I don't see any problem with us raising it as a concern and then saying, you think of it, either interrupt it, speed tables, something, do something to ensure you're not going to get this cut off.
Or even a gate that can be locked that the drivers can open up the road, do their plowing and close it again.
We did those Knox boxes on 336 Rollins Street, which I could still kick myself for
Yeah,
allowing
they
to do.
generally
But
are an issue.
They-
Right.
the last thing that driver wants to do is get out of the truck and unlock a gate in 3 feet of
So what
snow.
we've usually found with Knox boxes is they just open it and leave it.
Leave it open.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna get out.
Or in an emergency,
Yeah.
you just drive through it.
Yeah. And so
And wait till it gets fixed.
we had a one-way, we had one of the things we can do, if you look at that plan, where that L-shaped road intersects with decision points about like parking, we could put stop signs in. They'll slow people down. You gotta stop. Right? So there's a bunch of traffic calming things that we can possibly do to address that issue, but that's why we didn't do it in the first place.
Wait, I understand the snowplow drivers, but it's still got to think of the safety of the people in the park and
We do have a hand from John Folish.
Come on, okay, go ahead, John.
Maybe John remembers, but I don't know.
You there?
John, can you unmute?
Okay. To give you a little idea, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
To give you a little idea how we came about with the roadway the way it is, originally we had two entrances off of Geyser Road, one being where it is now by the emergency corps. The second one was being down closer to where Treble Ave comes out. Our concerns were that there's so much traffic back up there that people trying to get in and out of those entrances really didn't work. So that's why we came up with the one entrance coming in and looping around. I think Mary Beth will probably agree, there are ways to calm the traffic through there. I think this was the best alternative we could come up with.
And there is already an entrance more or less in both of those locations today. It's just not, you can't without driving through the highway garage portion of it, when they open their gates, you can't drive all the way through today, but this follows an existing, to a degree, an existing traffic pattern. People are already pulling in and off of Roland and this side and already pulling in and out of Geyser. So it's continuing an existing traffic pattern.
It's not connected.
It's not connected right now, unless the highway opens up the gate.
Yep.
Right. Mhm. Mhm.
any other comments? So if not, if I put in our comment about the town center pedestrian sidewalks, lights. Dog park and its proximity to the other uses.
Know that loud noises tend to bother dogs. Like
Yeah.
I hear 4th of July, the fireworks, please don't do them
Yeah.
if you're gonna have.
But you mentioned this is all
basketballs and-
phasing and not, those are in
Yeah.
phase 3 or later,
3 or
correct?
later, right? Yep. And we were just looking, there's many other examples where there's, dogs are in the same area, it's not been an issue, right? So
Okay, if you have experience, and then that's
Yeah.
fine
Well,
too.
and
It's
also
just a thought I had.
it's a dog park where you have to think, if you're bringing your dog to a dog park where it's an enclosed area with other animals that are going to be off leash, your dog's probably pretty well behaved and probably pretty used to,
Okay.
at least that's the concept, right? You should not be bringing a dog that's afraid of other dogs or other people, because it's going to be in a fenced area with
Yeah.
other dogs and other people. So
Okay.
it's usually not an
You
issue.
have a lot of confidence in dog owners.
Well, they're kind of self-leveling,
Yeah.
We have had circumstances in other communities where people have had to be fined and told they're not allowed to bring their dog
Yeah.
to the dog park because their dog's not properly trained.
Okay, the only other one I had was I didn't see necessarily accommodation of a lot of parking for things such as like food trucks. And if you did something, I did see one thing over
So we do,
on some unnumbered phase where you
is there a
had,
way to put the drawing back up? So I can.
but I did see something over beyond the oval of a
Yes, there is-
future
there's a
bandstand,
space.
which doesn't get mentioned in any of the more recent site plans.
So
There's no parking over there. or
right
anything.
here,
Yeah.
this is permeable pavement. This is where the food trucks would park. Nope, that's parking. The purple is parking. And you see this label, it says proposed permeable pavement, correct? So this would be where the food trucks would park.
I thought that and the farmer's market and stuff, I wasn't sure where all that would be accommodated in here.
So, yeah, so it's this area is the area for the food trucks. So it's permeable pavement. So it would, you driveway access, and then this is kind of a great lawn where you would set up tents and do things, so you have, and then what was it there? Oh, the farmer's market.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different things you could do here. The pavilion is a good location for that as well, because it's just got simply tables underneath it. It's this building, this.
Not that big
the
though.
Pavilion, right? And it's got power, it's got water, it's got sewer, all here. It's basically just, it's open, right? It's open on all sides. It's got picnic tables underneath it. It's
Yeah.
a concrete pad. Right? And this center part's where the facilities are. So this would be a good spot for farmer's market. This band shell could be a good spot for it, or eventually way down the road, the community rec center for indoor for winter time.
I mean, if you're thinking of that pavilion, I mean, I've seen this at some of these regional markets. Those pavilions are high and allow box trucks to pull in underneath them. That's not what you're proposing here. I mean, most even the farmers markets here have a vehicle and more than just a table. I'm just
Well,
trying to
so,
think.
I mean, we can, you can always set it up down in the parking
Okay.
lot. I mean, there's
Yep.
a lot of farmers
Okay.
markets, just people bring pop-ups.
Yep.
And they're not,
Yep.
they're
Yep.
bringing a pop-up. So I think it depends on your scale of your farmer's market.
Yep.
If you're looking at something huge, then, that
Okay.
wasn't something.
I just don't know what the experience this summer was with the one we had and how successful or unsuccessful it was and what type of facilities. I just didn't see it written in there.
Mhm. Yeah, that was the site's intended to be very flexible.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All right. If that's it, I'll just do those 2 or 3 comments and then just push the recommendation to the board. I'll share it with you before I send it out. When's the town board meeting?
26th or something.
Okay. So with that, I just need a motion to allow me to finalize a memo forwarding the recommendations to the town board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any further questions? Being none, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
yes. Ms. Van Danza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Marin,
Yes.
and Chairman Barto.
Yes, okay. Our last matter of business this evening is a review of the as-built drawings for the Fair Oaks Road dedication, which includes the Fair Oaks subdivision and the Homestead Landing subdivision, which were approved by the planning board back in 2015. And what we've got here now is the highway superintendent, the town designated engineer, and the stormwater authorities have kind of approved all the infrastructure associated with this subdivision. And as part of section 152 of the town code on public streets and highways, they're asking for the planning board to have their stamp of approval on those drawings that go in. So with that, I'm going to ask Mary Beth to kind of update us where we are on those. Adam Yagelski and I and Jason Miller met several weeks ago on this, and I'll comment on that after, but if Mary Beth wants to bring us up to speed. Where
Sure.
we are.
So this subdivision was originally approved in 2015, as John has indicated. And, just being completely frank, out of the gate, the stormwater for this was a challenge. There was very little change in elevation across the site, which made moving stormwater challenging. The stormwater that was approved versus the stormwater that was built versus the stormwater that was maintained over time have been kind of an ongoing issue over the past 10 years. We'll say we got involved recently and I think there's been at least 2 developers, maybe 3, who've taken this over. We got involved recently because the developer wanted to turn over the roads and the stormwater to the town. There was an issue with respect to the paving of what is considered phase 2. That was resolved, just so everybody knows, by having the paving that had been put down, which was really challenging, milled out and repaved. So, because that was one really substantial issue. Most of the issues with respect to this that had to do with stormwater facilities. At this point, given the status of the development and its construction, the remaining ongoing stormwater issues have more to do with access and the ability of the town to access the facilities than with the actual facilities being there and working. And given the prior approvals of these plans and lot ownership, the what's constructed is going to be functional and the access will continue to be what it is today. It's not perfect, but it is the best circumstances that we can have. So this is, we are recommending, based on working with Jason Miller and Sophia and John, that the town accept this for dedication, but this is a bit of, we'll call it a poster child for making sure that when plans are reviewed and we're looking at things like stormwater and access, that we make sure that these plans are truly practicable. And then when they're being built, they get built to the standards that were required in the plans that were approved. This project is very old. We all, kind of everyone present here, inherited this project. But at this point, it seems we have arrived at as best a circumstance as we can, and we do recommend that the board exercise its authority and accept the plan, the project, the as-built, as being in conformance as best they can be with the originally approved plans.
Okay, so you all, I think Amanda had sent to you Monday the documents supporting this, including the resolution that we're contemplating here today. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review that, but it basically, we'd be asking for a resolution that resolves that the planning board hereby finds the required improvements of the project to be in substantial agreement with the approved plat and the installed substantial in compliance with the requirements of Chapter 154, the subdivision of land with the Town of Milton Code. 2, we note that with respect to the affirmation differences between the approved plat and the as-built involving stormwater management facilities, there was 2 discrepancies on access roads where the roads did not fall completely within the easements that were authorized for those that were there. And I wanted to make sure that we noted that those were such in the plan. And that then you would authorize the plan to prepare, the chair to sign those plans as being in substantial agreement to the approved plan. I guess I would note, having in hindsight now looked at part 152, that in the future, I'd like to see this amended, that it wouldn't come back to the planning board unless it was in an actual amendment to the site plan or a subdivision map. But this is really a matter between the highway department, the town engineer, and the stormwater person. They're the ones that are doing this, we're not engineers. We don't verify that things were installed engineering wise. But if there was a substantive change to a site plan or a subdivision, then the applicant would have to come back and amend the site plan. So we would only ever see these again if there were amendments to a site plan or a subdivision map filed approval.
That was actually going to be my question. Why are we doing it?
It's because that's the way the code is written and has not been changed, but I would recommend that it be changed when we update our codes for the zoning, because this is very different. First time we've done this. I suspect we'll be doing this again with respect to 336 Rowland, and we'll do it again with respect, well, whenever these reach this point of dedication, and took this project almost 10 years to get to this point.
Is there a liability by us signing this? It seems.
No, I
backwards.
mean, we're still deferring to our engineer and our experts, but is there a liability to a certain extent? Yeah, the planning board's affirming that, yes, this is built to a substantial agreement to what we approved back in 2015.
But it
Ultimately-
wasn't built to what it was planned.
Well, it is in large measure built to what was approved. Whether or not what was approved would be what we would approve today, it could be a very different story.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue, is there were issues with the original approval. And we weren't here, we weren't involved, so we don't, but there were certainly issues with the original approval. And then I think as time went by and different phases were built by different people, because this is John, the third developer.
That I'm
that's been
not
involved.
familiar
I
with.
think that there were not there were not a good system of going out in the field and actually verifying that the things that were constructed in phases as time went on were meeting the plans. So, it's kind of that issue of once you have something that's a little bit off, then the next time somebody picks it off and tries to extend from that, it becomes a little bit more off. And then they put that down, and then 2 years later, someone picks it up and they extend from that, and it becomes a little bit more off from that. So this again is sort of it's an unfortunate set of circumstances. We've arrived at, the best set of circumstances that we can, given the history, lot ownership, what was constructed. As I mentioned, I think much to the dismay of the current developer, we did make them completely mill out the road and repave it because the paving that was down was not acceptable in any way. Everyone should know that your deputy highway superintendent gave basically a paving lesson in the field, describing what was wrong with the paving that was there and why it needed to be replaced. So in terms of liability, the stamp on the plans is the engineer who designed them. It's not us and it's not you. So, but you're accepting dedication of the roads and the stormwater facilities. And again, at this point, we're making that recommendation in concert with the town highway department that the dedication occurs now.
So I did point out, though, in the resolution, the two areas that we obviously saw discrepancy between the easements that were granted and the placement of the access road, but outside of that.
So upon advice of counsel, we're okay.
Define okay. I heard one question about liability. If you're talking in terms of fiscal or monetary liability, no, definitely not. There's always the liability of public criticism, but that's, I don't think, what you're talking about. And here it looks like all the professionals are fine and you can defer to their expertise and feel comfortable about that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, please poll the board.
Can I have a first and a second?
Oh, yes, sorry. Motion to approve the resolution as I described.
I'll make the motion.
No, second.
Second it.
Little. Any further discussion? There being none, please poll the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Dula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes. All right, is there any other matter to be brought before the board this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:37 PM.
I so move.
Frey, second. And Whittle, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.